Hello guys. So let's talk or create a deployment using YAML. Now finally we are down to creating an actual deployment. Before we do that, though, it's worth understanding what it is we're actually doing. Now K8S, remember, container based resources. In the case of deployment, you are creating a set of resources to be managed. For example, where we created a single instance of the pod in the previous example, we might create a deployment to tell Kubernetes to manage a set of replicas to that pad. Literally a replica set to make sure that a certain number of them are always available. So we might start our deployment definition like this. As you can see in the screen, we are specifying the API version as extension \v1 beta 1. Remember, deployments aren't in v1 as pods were, and that we want a deployment. Next, we specify the name. We can also specify any other metadata we want, but let's keep things simple for now. Finally, we get into the spec. In the pod spec, we gave information about what actually went into the pod. We will do the same thing here with the deployment. We will start in this case by saying that whatever pods we deploy, we always want to have two replicas. You can see this number however you like, of course, and you can also set properties such as selector that defines the pods affected by this deployment, or the minimum number of seconds a pod must be up without any error before it is considered ready. Now you can find a full list of the deployment specification properties in the Kubernetes v1 beta 1 API reference as we discussed earlier, and you can see all the details there. So now that we know we want two replicas, we need to answer the question replica of what? They are defined by, let us go to a template, which defines the same. And as you can see in the screen, and you will see it looks familiar. It should be virtually identical, to the pod definition in the previous section, and that's by design. Templates are simply definition of objects to be replicated, objects that might in other circumstances be created on their own. Now let's go ahead and create the deployment. Add the YAML to a file called deployment.yaml and point Kubernetes at it, as you can see here. To see how it's doing, we can check on the deployment list. And this, yes, we can check how is it doing here. Yes. So as you see, Kubernetes has started both replica, but only one is available. You can check the event log by describing the deployment as before. So here is where you will get the event log. Yes. So as you see here, there is no problem. It just hasn't finished scaling up yet. Another few seconds and we can see that both pods are running. So and in that state we will get this. Okay, so now let's summarize what we have done so far. Let's review. We have basically covered three topics. Number one, YAML is a human readable text based format that lets you easily specify configuration type information by using a combination of maps of name value pair and list of items and nested versions of each. Point number two, YAML is the most convenient way to work with Kubernetes object, and in this article we looked at creating pods and deployment. Number 3, you can get more information on running or should be running object by asking Kubernetes to describe them. So that's our basic YAML tutorial or a lecture is done. We are going to be tackling a great deal of Kubernetes related contents in the coming lectures, you know. Thank you very much for participating. See you soon.